One of the holy grails of any LEGO historian's collection is the store display. They're classic, they look cool, and most of all, they're forbidden fruit. That's right, nobody is supposed to have these, ever. They're supposed to be destroyed after they're run on store shelves. It says so right here on the side. The retail store display is traditionally a collection of sets or minifigures from a specific wave of LEGO themes, put together and placed alongside the sets they're marketing on the shelves of retail stores like Walmart or Target. They often, but not always, have features like motion-activated lights, sometimes other features like rotation, and are usually plastered with marketing materials that show off the wave. One of the coolest parts to me is the printed design used for the back and ground. When I first saw these, I thought they'd make the perfect display cases for me to rotate out sets, or perhaps use them as backgrounds for stop-motion videos. Unfortunately, LEGO really doesn't want you to fiddle with these, because all the sets are glued hard in there, and that means the printed background too. I know some other YouTubers have ripped these all out. Go check out this video if you haven't already. But I'm not quite that brave. I also think part of the appeal of LEGO history is the imperfection of the products. So I want to keep this exactly as is. Literally everything is glued, down to the backwards swords in the minifigure's hands. And then after the set its advertising rotates out, the display's done. It's not sent back or stored or reused, they're destroyed. Like official policy marked on the box, destroyed, into the trash compactor.
In the garbage, fly boy!
I don't care what you smell! Get in there, don't worry about it!
Why? Nobody really knows. I guess they don't represent the LEGO product as a whole in terms of things that you can own, but they probably also don't want collectors or resellers getting their hands on them. In practice, while many displays are indeed discarded, some survive when employees or collectors save them, often ending up on secondhand markets like eBay, as happened with this Ninjago display. So naturally, when one of these beauts arrives on the market, it is the duty, nay the privilege, nay the duty of the collector to snatch it up and preserve it. Saving something that's meant to be destroyed is like the ultimate act of history making. Although, maybe I should talk to my therapist about that. And no store display is more history making than this one right here. As any self-respecting LEGO fan does, I have an alert on my phone that tells me whenever new items pop up on the eBay market, which I then scroll through and usually disregard. A little over a year ago, this came across my feed that someone was selling for $150 plus $136 in shipping. I know a little bit about these, and that seemed like a suspiciously good deal. So I went on a week-long vacation, did adult things, got engaged, and when I got back, it was still on the market. So naturally, I bought it. While it was shipping, I decided to do some research. I was curious about what info there was about this specific piece of LEGO history that I was about to own. And here's where it got really interesting. I couldn't find it. On Bricklink, I couldn't find it anywhere. The only other record of this store display existing is in this other eBay listing, which is still available for pickup if you want it. What this means is that, according to the internet, there are only 2 of this in existence, anywhere. And I own one. So I'm hoping that through this video series, I can document more about it. I'll be putting it up on Bricklink and anywhere else that you guys suggest. Real quick update, while I was editing this video, I found a short that somebody posted of them having and then subsequently flipping this store display. And then I also uploaded a short asking folks if they had any information about it, and somebody commented that they have one as well, which makes 4 known units in the wild: mine, the eBay one, the person who had it in the short, and the person in the YouTube comments. Thank you. Back to the video. And then, after waiting 3 weeks, it arrived. It wasn't until I really started looking at it that I noticed a few things. For starters, it was all glued together. I know I went over that in the history of displays, but I didn't know that at the time. That's so cool. So imagine my double surprise then when I realized that not only was the set glued together, but it was also missing pieces. Many, 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 many pieces given what it is. Not only that, but the top panel here is pretty much completely destroyed in this corner, which is an absolute shame. One of the things I value most about this concept is the dust-free display of old sets, and, well, there's that out the window. I can kind of balance it like this, and this is how I've been doing it, but it's not great. And then there's the matter of these wooden posts. At first, I guess I just assumed that they were supposed to be there, but looking at the other store displays you can find in Target and online, I don't see any wood anywhere. Looking back to the other image I found on eBay, I also don't see any there. They're glued in with wood glue and look atrocious. I just can't imagine any structural problems the display might have had were worth this much gross yellow crust. And then there's this giant scratch on the front. I thought it was tape at first, but it's not. Okay, I've got a lot of work to do here. The first step is to replace the pieces, and for that, we're gonna head over to Bricklink. Luckily, all these sets are just real sets, so I was able to get the parts list from there. It took about 2 months to get everything that I needed from everyone, but here's all the parts. Okay, so that's the easiest part out of the way. Next up is the history and restoration phase. For the first, let's turn to the underside and see what information we find there. And there's a lot more than I expected. Fair warning, we're gonna get a little bit sweaty here with the intricate and riveting details of labels. So if you're not that into the weeds just yet, feel free to skip to this timestamp. Otherwise, feel free to pause and read, and I'll try to break this down as best I can. First off, right here up at the top, we see Showcase Category 2. This refers to LEGO's internal classification of the display case. According to collector documentation, Category 2 showcases are mid-sized display boxes equipped with battery-powered electronics, lighting, and sometimes sound. They typically have a push button or a motor sensor to activate said lights or sounds. For context, Category 1 displays have no electronics, while higher categories, like Category 3, use plug-in power or more complex setups. This Ninjago Legacy display in question does feature light-up elements, hence its Category 2 designation. Next. Yeah, okay. Down here is where the real meat and potatoes lies, though. At the top, LEGO Production SRO. Every LEGO corporate location has a designation, a moniker if you will. On LEGO.com, there's the US LEGO Systems Inc., and the new factory that they're building over at LEGO Manufacturing Virginia, Inc. In the UK, they have LEGO Company Limited, and then if we scroll all the way up to the top, here we find LEGO Production SRO. This stands for Words That I Cannot Pronounce. Translated literally, this means a company with limited liability, which is the Czech and Slovak legal structure for a private limited company, as it's known in the UK, or an LLC, as it's known in the US. So I guess now we know that this particular unit was assembled in Kladno in the Czech Republic. LEGO.com has an article about the increase in production capacity in the Czech Republic, in which they state a separate part of the campus houses model production, where specialists from Kladno develop tools for marketing in-store campaigns and models for Legoland parks and LEGO brand retail stores across the world. And we also know when it was produced, 4/10/2018. As much as I'd love this to be April 10th, 2018, the day after my birthday, it's much more likely that this is the European date system, and it's actually October 4th of 2018, 5 days before my half birthday, I guess. And that tracks that they'd produce in October of 2018 if they wanted to be on store shelves for 2019. There's also this product name, US, for the US market, 2 feet, yeah it is, and Ninjago, right on the money. Finally, I think that this once said signature, which means that this was signed off by somebody with the initials FV. FV, if you're out there, hit me up. My biggest question, still unanswered then, is which retailer this particular Ninjago store display came from. LEGO generally supplies such displays to major retail partners, and in the United States around 2019, the 2 most prominent chains for large LEGO feature displays were Target and Walmart. Toys R Us had closed in 2018 in the US, and LEGO's own brand stores used different display methods. In terms of where this one came from, there's, unfortunately, no solid evidence, and only conflicting suggestions. Here's a Ninjago movie store display that definitely came from Target, and here's a listing for a Dragon's Rising display that came from a Walmart. Tons of you seem to be pretty confident about this one coming from Target, but nobody's got anything more than that. So I guess for now, I have to assume that it did once grace the stores of a Target, but that's only one step beyond pure speculation. Wahoo. And so that's where I'm at with the history and restoration of my store display. In the next part, I'm hoping to remove the wooden posts, replace the acrylic shell, and make it no longer battery powered, which will be a much larger undertaking. I'm also hoping to get more information about the history, so this is where you come in. Please comment below if you've ever seen this display in stores, probably around 2019 for Ninjago Legacy. If you have any information, I'd love to see it. Because at the end of the day, this isn't just some broken hunk of acrylic filled with dusty bricks, it's a relic. It's a real physical piece of LEGO history, perhaps one of the only ones in existence. One that wasn't meant to survive. In a different timeline, it probably got chucked in a dumpster behind a Target at midnight. And now, somehow, I've got it here, on my table, in my hands. So if this video does anything, I hope that it documents something that would have otherwise been lost. And if you've got info, photos, memories, even a blurry shot from your old iPhone of this thing sitting on a shelf in a store for real, I'd love to hear about it. I'd love to include it. Because the more we know, the more we can preserve. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in part 2.